So the title of the presentation is Sustainable Agriculture in Nature, Micronesian Agroforestry. We're going to have Mr. Francis Vreg to present. He's currently working at the Yap State Historic Preservation Office in Micronesia. He's a director working at the office. Please welcome the speaker with a big round of applause.
Yeah, thank you all, and welcome to the 2020 ICH conference. First, I would like to do a PowerPoint presentation on the agriculture and agroforestry practices here in Micronesia. Going into that, as prepared in the presentation, I'm just going to briefly talk about the Micronesian geography, which consists of the volcanic islands and small island or atolls. And Micronesia is one of the Pacific island groups consisting of Micronesia, Melanesia, and Polynesia. The political makeup of the Micronesian islands have three distinct relationship with the United States of America. The Marianas Island has a Commonwealth and with the U.S. and Guam is a territory of the U.S. The Republic of the Marshall Islands has a compact of a free association with the U.S. as well as the Federated States of Micronesia, where Yap is and I am from, and the Republic of Palau. They all have a compact of free association with the USA. The biodiversity of the Micronesian islands consists of land and sea or ocean animals, and on the land there are trees and plants and other type of animals. Combined with the people, all the people in the Micronesian islands are called Micronesians. And the reason why I have put people included in the biodiversity of the island is that the people are the consumer as well as the protectors of these natural resources. The way that we do agriculture or agroforestry practices here in Micronesia are some areas or plots are for special plants or trees or grasses or something like this, such as yams, swamp and land terraces, and other type of trees and crops. The agroforestry in residential and forestry areas are similar, yet they are distinct or different in a way that in the residential areas around the communities, people more or less plant those trees and crops based on their needs or the weather climate of the island. The agroforestry is usually the trees and the grasses and the crops that you see there were planted by birds, animals, much less human beings. The agroforestry area in the forestry areas or the plants in the forestry areas uh, uh, are mostly used for lumber and other needs. The purpose of agricultural or agroforestry practices uh, is for plants and crops rotation, as we all know that when certain trees or plants die, then other type of trees or plant can grow better in that area. And one of the crop rotation purpose is based on the cultural function of the communities, such as when a young festival is to come up, then the villagers or the communities would plant yams. And then if something for other cultural practices, like exchanging betel nut, then betel nut trees would be planted. The second one is climate change or environmental control measures. Because the Micronesia is in the tropics, it rains a lot. And so the trees and the grasses, the crops do contribute to the control of erosion from the land onto the water. One of the reasons for the practices is to conserve natural resources, and that is for food, for human beings as well as for animals. And the agroforestry areas also provide for lumber and materials resource storage for building houses, canoes, rafts, and other cultural material needs. It also provides for laboratory and pharmacy areas where traditional medicine plants and trees and other type of natural elements are used to treat the sickness and other type of illness for human as well as for animals. Further, since there are food plants and crops in these areas, they serve as a grocery as well as a food storage. And food are prepared for many regions. On a daily consumption basis, festivals or cultural functions or ceremonies, community exchange system where one community would give a particular type of food to another community. In return, they would get something from the receiving community. Communities are able and accessible to these natural resources for cultural practices such as inyap. Sometimes betel nuts are exchanged for coconuts, or taros are exchanged for fish. And so these are the natural reserves developed by human beings in this island. When we're talking about agroforestry in Micronesia, it includes the areas from the mountains to the shoreline. And on the shoreline, one would find beach areas, mangrove forests, swamps, and rocky cliffs. And as I briefly mentioned before, besides human planters and harvesters, both birds and other land-based animals, such as fruit bats, crows, and other types of birds and animals eat and destroy the seeds and nuts of trees and plants from the mountain to the shoreline. Winds and river streams also contribute to the distribution of seeds and nuts, which they grow on the banks of the river or streams or wash back to the shore, and then they grow from there. As mentioned earlier, the human needs or uses of agroforestry resources are for food, medicine, or pharmaceutical needs, cultural practices, such as exchange system between individuals, families, clans, and communities. And unfortunately, Dr. Margie Porro is not able to be with us today, but she was one of the first that shared with certain government bodies, entities, agencies, and people that birds, especially fruit bats, was as well as still one of the major planter and harvesters of all the edible or plants and trees that can be used for eating the nuts or the fruits. And this incident happened when she was testifying before the legislature in the past year in the state of Yap. So with the introduction of Western concepts, practices, and technologies, agriculture and agroforestry landscapes, resources and practices are threatened, affecting the social and cultural way of life and natural resources of Micronesia. And I believe that these elements or things are also similar in the island as well as other cultural societies in the world. The challenges that we face today through modernization are really threatening and affecting our way of life to the point that the whole world is being affected by climate change and other type of sickness, because people here in Micronesia in the past, they rely on medicinal plants to sustain their life. Nowadays, some of these plants are being cleared, or trees are being cut off for lumber on a commercial basis. And so I must apologize, but this is my presentation for today. Thank you all.